Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. You know the drill. We're back at it again with the r/entitledpeople Reddit stories. So let's just jump into it, shall we? I reported my dad, who was living in the US illegally, to the ICE. Hi everyone. It was suggested that I post my story here. My dad has been living illegally in the US. I just reported him to the ICE. The context. My dad contacted me yesterday to tell me that my actions have affected his relationships with his family. My dad remarried about 10 years ago to an American. I was his biggest supporter at that time. I just wanted him to be happy. He married her after being with her for only 4 months together. I was just happy he was happy. He used to call me and accuse me of siding with my mom, even after he remarried. We came to a head when I got engaged and invited him to my wedding. He said if my mom was going to be there, he wouldn't attend. I told him that I wanted both my parents to be in attendance, and he basically called me a traitor and to go myself. After that, he sent me long-winded text messages about how my mom cuckolded him and sharing disturbing details about their intimacy. And when I told him to stop, he ghosted me for 10 years. He's always been abusive, both physically and emotionally, but at his wedding to my stepmother, he tried to kiss me romantically and said if the world ended, he'd take me and repopulate the human species to create a biologically perfect species. I immediately cut off contact after that, and I didn't hear from him again. Out of the blue, he called me yesterday. I don't even know how he got my number, but he was obviously drunk and told me I destroyed his happiness on his wedding day, and his wife has never forgiven him for what I did to him. She's apparently leaving him now, and it's all my fault. He called me a tease and said I blew the content of our conversation out of context. Then he yelled at me and said if he was serious about us repopulating the human species, he would have just taken it from me. Then called me a bunch of names and hung up on me. I've been trying to toe the line with him for decades. I stood by him after everything he's done to me, and when I finally told him to stop, he threatened my life. So I called ICE on him. He's never gotten his US citizenship, even after getting married to my stepmother. Now he's getting his ass deported back to Canada. His wife has a criminal record, so she won't be able to join him. I've destroyed his life, and I don't feel bad about it. Ew. On behalf of Canadians, we don't want him, but sounds like he'll be spending a good chunk in prison because in the comments, OP states that their dad is already detained, has a flight booked for March 3rd, and that they will testify in court against him and strongly advocate he die in prison. Personally, my petty ass would have done this 10 years ago, but at least it's happening now. Better late than never, that's what I always say. Am I a pedo or a dealer? Was just taking my floof for his nightly drag, and when it's just time for me and him to chill, I'll usually bring some poop bags, a flashlight, and myself. No phone, no ID. Just unplug, and regularly threaten to send him back to the manufacturer for being defective. Said in a sweet tone, mind, the route our wandering takes us on typically involves heading towards a spot with a trash can, so I can skip the carrying the poop home part. Said location is a school. Our walkie's route takes us up past the school and then back down the other side, so he doesn't notice us actually turning around. As we came back down the other side, he'd pooped, and I'd begged the turd for disposal in a garbage can outside the school, crossed the road, threw the poop in the trash, and then the sun came back out. Only, it wasn't the sun. It was a pickup truck with a light bar brighter than the sun, blaring into my eyes. At night. Felt good. I put a mittened hand up to block the light and see where I was going, and proceeded to walk away from the truck back towards home. Truck follows us. Fantastic. Truck continues to follow us for a quarter of a mile when a police car rolls up with lights on but no siren. Cop shines his spotlight on me, which turned my headache all the way up to 11 and instructs me to put my hands up. I do so. Cop gets out of his car and informs me I'm loitering near a school. I deny this. I'm walking my dog. Same time and route I do every night. He asks me for my ID. I tell him it's at home. Where I'd like to be going now if it's all the same to him. That's when the clown in the pickup uses a ladder to descend from his lifted monstrosity of a truck and starts rambling about how he saw me put a baggie in in the trash. Bear in mind, the light bar is still on and is effectively blinding the cop. Cop finally tells the guy to turn his light bar off or he's getting cited. Man wobbles his way back up the ladder and turns the sun off. Finally, man in truck goes on to exclaim, "I must be a pedo lurking behind a school so late at night. First of all, it's a Saturday, and it's after dinner time. I don't care how much a student has misbehaved. There's no such critter as all-weekend detention." The parking lots are also entirely empty. Ain't nobody here. Almost like it's a nice, well-lit place to walk a dog. Man then goes on to try and say, "What about the bag? You selling drugs?" Nope, just throwing out my dog's poop. Thanks. Cop at this point looks at me, and then at the man, does some math, and realizes I'm probably not the problem here. Cop begins taking an interest in the other guy, who has pupils that are wide open despite a freaking spotlight being shined at them. I told I'm free to go. I went. Ah, yes. A dealer pedo with a cockerdoodle at a desolate location where there's no kids or addicts. Sounds legit to me. Either OP is a terrible businessman, or the guy in the debag truck with saucer plates for pupils is not to be trusted. I'm going to go on a whim here and choose the latter. Petty revenge with a side of federal charges. Way back in the ancient days of 1985, I was tormented by a complete tool named Jimmy, who was one grade above me in high school in a small town where everyone knows everything about you and who said what. He was a redneck who hung out with similar losers who liked chewing tobacco. One day, he thought it would be fun to use my backpack that was hanging off the back of my chair as his spit cup. I was furious, but with his gang of cretins, there was nothing I could do about it. At least, not until he turned 18 and hadn't graduated yet. In school, I heard him bragging to his friends that he stole some mail from the post office by reaching into his P.O. box and grabbing the mail in the adjoining boxes. He bragged that he got someone's social security check and cashed it, using the money to buy some Coors beer. Well, my friend's mother worked at the post office, and I let her know and to keep an eye out. Sure enough, a couple weeks later, he got caught. The mailman inside saw his scrawny arm reaching in and just grabbed him by the wrist and bent it at a 90-degree angle, trapping his arm until the police showed up. He ended up not finishing school while in jail and going to prison for the better part of a decade. Further investigation by the FBI, because it is a federal crime, got some of his friends caught up as well. I moved away right after high school and never went back, but before I left, I made sure everyone knew I tipped them off. I heard later from friends who stayed in that shitburg town that he got out and was looking for me. My mom had moved away, downsizing and retiring, and I was bouncing all over the country as a consultant for the aerospace and defense industry, making redonkulous money in the IT field in the lead up to Y2K. I just laughed maniacally and told them to let him know that the misery of his life was all because of me. Well, I can't take all the credit. He was an idiot and would have up some way or another, but I made sure to wait until after he turned 18 so he could go to big boy prison and not just a visit to juvenile detention for the summer. One thing I learned as I got older is that as good as it feels to rub their noses in it that you were the one that sent them to jail, it's a lot safer to sit back smugly and leave them wondering how they got caught. When he did that spitting in my backpack, he made a big deal about me being too much of a pussy to do anything about it. Yeah, 5 versus 1. You're goddamn right I didn't do anything at the time. I'm not an idiot. But it was a small town, and people talk. Especially the kids in a small town. Other kids would say and do things because they felt safe from me. When this whole arrest thing went down, I bragged that it was me, and that I did it specifically because of what he did to me. It was just over a year between him getting arrested and me leaving town after graduation. I took the, they put one of yours in the hospital, we put one of theirs in the morgue kind of escalation approach. I made sure that everyone knew I was willing to go nuclear, and that I would give no quarter. I had a few friends in school, but none that were close. I never dated anyone from high school because you don't shit where you eat. When you break up and still have to see them in third period English, it's gonna get messy. I was hated by a lot of people, but they also didn't f with me anymore. Meh, who cares if they all hate you? You don't want people like that in your court anyways. This beautiful piece of well-executed revenge is honestly what dreams are made of. I picture OP walking away in slow-mo with an explosion behind him. But anyway, that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed these 3 entitled people petty revenge stories. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!